I'm Joey Hulbert. I'm a research assistant professor at WSU. We've been fortunate to have support from USDA APHIS to create and produce educational materials for tribal communities in the Northwest. So I'm going to share some examples of that. And I also want to note that Faith DeWitt's, who's online, is kind of the maybe maybe the first point of contact. She does a lot of the designs and stuff, so I'll share a bit more about Fig and the work. I do want to note that we today are really privileged and get to learn and explore and fall in love and care for the Puget Sound in the Northwest, which is the traditional homelands of many Coast Salish peoples. We are based in Puyallup, which is part of the homelands of the Puyallup tribe of Indians. But generally, we love this area and we want to help protect it. And unfortunately, this area has a ton of pressure from the pathways of invasive species. And for example, there's many ports of entry in this region. Uh, there's many ports like the Port of Tacoma, which have giant vessels and thousands and thousands of containers. And in all of these containers, there's wood products, could be live plants, there could be um, moss balls, um, parts of the pet trade, things like that coming through the ports. And so it's really critical that we kind of work together to protect these homelands and the lands that we love and cherish. And our approach to doing so is by raising awareness about the pathways and the potential issues. I'm really fortunate to kind of have been handed this project from Dan Fagerly, who's recently retired. And so really Dan has been pioneering a lot of this outreach material through support from USDA APHIS and built a lot of relationships with those of you on this call. And I'm trying to continue that. He was an official tribal liaison for WSU, and so he was able to focus a bit more on this than us. We're a soft-funded program, but we do have a lot of great people, and we are here with support from USDA APHIS. This is Fig mentioning she does a lot of the designs that I'm going to share, but she's part of a team where we have Zay, who's an outreach specialist, and Zarina, who's a scientific assistant, and some students and interns. So this is something else that we can leverage to assist you all and design things together and produce things. So for the past 3 years, I've led suggestions for the USDA APHIS funding. Tim shared about this last week, and we're happy to support anyone in preparing a proposal for the next round of suggestions. We always submit ideas through this public outreach and education side of things, and we've been fortunate to receive funding through that, and that's what provides the funding to make signs and posters and boot brush stations and things like that. So the past 3 years, we've gotten some funding, and each of these years has included um, about $20,000 for making signs and ordering signs and buying um, posts and things like all the materials that you would need to put these signs up. So I'm going to share some of those. We've also had support like Maria from the Washington Invasive Species Council to organize these workshops and webinars every year. And so we've done this for 3 years and we're hoping to do it again next year. But I like to share these posters because you can kind of see the partnerships growing, and we would welcome any of you to partner in the next round of these workshops and webinars next year. But also with that funding, as I've mentioned, we have support to make and produce signs and co-design them with you and things like that. So this is a photo of Dan a few years ago at the Anthony and the Nez Perce, the Nimipu lands, providing a bunch of signs and posters. These are some designs that Fig has led. We've made signs about plants, invasive plants, bullfrog, walleye, insects of concern, some of the stuff that Laurel and Lee mentioned. We also can make posters. We've got some posters about sustainably harvesting berries from, keeping berry patches healthy for your ancestors. There's also information about oak hoof disease that we could produce. Fig has been making some incredible pamphlets lately. So we could make little pamphlets. In some cases, we could provide envelopes if you wanted to mail them. Otherwise, we could post, you could post them at boat launches and things like that. We also recently made some stickers. We're kind of excited about the opportunity to make more stickers. So if you have need or interest in bumper stickers or other things, we've also made some cards recently for Anthony. Um, I think their idea was to like have a fold out card set. We weren't sure how to produce that yet, so we just made some business cards that kind of have information on reporting some invasive aquatics. We have funding to create these. We actually have a ton of boot brush stations right now. So if you wanted these, we have a bunch available. We can co-design the actual sign that you want to put on the boot brush station and then provide them. And we've recently ordered these actual little boot brushes. So some swag that we can send to you if you're interested. I think the last thing I'll mention is we have field guides as well. If you want a field guide to common pests and diseases of trees or invasive plants or invasive species in the Northwest, we have a bunch of these on hand that we could send you. So in summary, there's a lot of educational materials that we have funding and support for. Signs, boot brushes, stickers, field guides, and even brochures. Those are just some ideas. We're also interested in, working with you to develop other materials. And, for Mitzi or Laurel, we could certainly partner. You guys already have some materials that we could, that are made, and we could just help cover the cost of um, printing them or something too. We're happy to work with you in that. A last piece of this is the website that we've been using to, promote and share about these workshops. There's also some resources on there. There's links to things like the Don't Move Firewood campaign. And this is where we'll kind of host all the recordings from these webinars and the workshops the past few weeks. So please stay in touch. If you do want to order stuff, you're welcome to do it through the website, but most people just email us. And in some cases, Robert will connect us with you if you let Robert or Maria or anyone else know that you're interested. We can kind of share this funding and the support we have to raise awareness and reduce the impacts of invasive species.